Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Now, there's one big question one's got to ask regarding the current lockdown under this ANC government, this corrupt ANC government, this gangster state. And that is, how long can it last, regardless of all the crappy regulations they put in place and all the demands that they make people do? How long can it continue? And I'll tell you what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a report that's come out where children are now being forced to eat wild plants to survive as hunger is exploding around South Africa. And I'm not talking minority group children, I'm talking African children. This is how desperate things are getting in South Africa. Let me put a bit of meat on the bone. Hunger in South Africa has doubled since the lockdown, says a new survey. And this is because of job losses, which have especially hit women and low-paid workers. 1 in 8 people surveyed reported frequent hunger for 3 days or more in the past 7 days in their household. And the gift of the givers say it's the worst hunger strike, or not strike, the worst hunger in 28 years. In Petty, in the Eastern Cape, children are eating wild plants to survive as the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown take their toll. The number of households going hungry has doubled, according to new research. Gift of the Givers project manager, Ali Sablé, told Groundup that when the organization's food truck arrived in Wesley, Petty last week, people started dancing and singing. Until then, only 25 food parcels had been handed out in the area since the beginning of the lockdown. Remember those 250,000 food parcels that Ramaphosa promised would be delivered to the population? Well, only the black privileges were the beneficiaries, the ANC cadres. Yeah, a lot of those food parcels went missing in action. Crazy. Anyway, Sablé went on to say that some people in Petty were eating wild plants to deal with their gnawing hunger pangs. One woman told him, "My children will tell you the taste of every plant in this area, as for the last 3 months I've been feeding them these plants." Researchers in the National Income Dynamics Study, or NIDS, Coronavirus Rapid Mobile Survey, or NIDS-CRAM, don't we love the acronyms, released on Wednesday, found that 47% of respondents reported that their household ran out of money to buy food in April 2020. Before the lockdown, 21% of households reported that they ran out of money to buy food in the previous year. The NIDS, or NIDS survey, has followed 28,000 individuals and 7,300 households over time, starting in 2008 and reporting on their livelihoods and well-being. The NIDS-CRAM survey, the first of 5 this year, ran from the 7th of May to the 27th of June and used 50 call center agents to survey 7,000 respondents. By then, social grants had been increased, but most households would not yet have been receiving the special COVID-19 grant. Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, who founded the organization in 1992, and we're talking about the Gift to the Givers, said, "It is the worst amount of hunger in the 28 years of the Gift of the Givers. Job losses had spread hunger into new areas and cities," Suleiman said. Calls from people in need were coming from people employed in industries in distress, particularly the aviation, restaurant, and hotel sectors. The job losses are massive. In rural areas, farmers were joining farm workers and appealing for food. Farmers appealing for food. Where's your breadbasket gone? These are farmers. Anyway, foreign nationals in South Africa are also approaching the Gift to the Givers for food. Foreign nationals are completely out of the system. They don't have ID cards, they can't get support from anywhere else, Suleiman said. Suleiman identified the Eastern Cape as a hunger hotspot. The Eastern Cape is a forgotten province. He said that significant demand for food parcels had kicked in 3 weeks after the national lockdown started on the 27th of March. By then, people had exhausted their last paycheck or their meagre savings or used up their earnings from social grants. After that, phone calls, emails, and social media messages appealing for food aid overwhelmed the gift to the givers, Suleiman said. The call for food had been huge. He said, in our 28-year history, we have never had the call centre so busy. Previously, the switchboard operator answered the call centre, but the organisation brought in an extra 4 people to man the call centre. My staff could not cope. At any one time, there were 8,000 emails in my inbox. We had to put in 4 extra staff to clear the emails. The public floods us with calls asking for help. People were crying over the phone. Since the 27th of March, Gift to the Givers has handed out over 100,000 food parcels while feeding 100 feeding centres. Each food parcel feeds a family of 5 for a month, and the feeding centre supports between 800 and 1,200 people each day. Gift to the Givers food parcels are likely to reach 500,000 people, and the feeding schemes have reached 100,000 people. So, Hippo Eyes, Ramaphosa, what happened to your 250,000 food parcels that you promised? Whose back pocket did that money go into? Yeah, I guess we'll never know, will we? Suleiman estimated that his organisation had spent about 50 million rand on food parcels and feeding schemes since the start of the national lockdown. The Gift to the Givers has delivered 100 million rands worth of supplies since the 15th of March. Donor-funded organisations were also collapsing as donors ran out of money, Suleiman said. Many companies have not been operating for over 3 months. What do you expect? The NIDS CRAM survey found that 1 in 5 respondents reported that someone in their household went hungry in the last 7 days, and 1 in 7 said that a child had gone hungry in the previous 7 days. 1 in 8 reported frequent hunger for 3 or more days in the past 7 days in their household, and 1 in 14 reported perpetual hunger almost every day or every day. The survey found adults were shielding children from hunger where they could. The researchers said it would seem that in time of acute crisis like the COVID-19 pandemic, many households have managed to protect or shield the children in the household from that hunger. This protective capacity of homes has its limits, however. When hunger becomes too pervasive, households seem unable to keep protecting children. Before the lockdown, 3/4 of households which received social grants relied on income sources other than grants, they said, which could explain why hunger had worsened through grants, though grants had not changed or had been increased. Pandemic-induced job losses presents a major threat to the livelihoods of a large proportion of grant-receiving households, precisely because earnings has been an important source of income for most grant-receiving households. However, about 30% of those who had lost their jobs between February and April reported no household grants income at all. 1 in 3 of those who earned an income in February did not earn an income in April, the researchers found, and job losses were concentrated amongst women and lower paid workers. But guess who is still getting paid the full salary? Yeah, the black privileged. Let me tell you a secret. The members of Parliament are still on full pay, thanks to the taxpayers. Disgusting. The hunger crisis showed that South Africa's food system was broken and dominated by 4 producers and 4 major retailers, said the infamous Professor Ruth Hall from the Institute of Poverty, Land and Agrarian Studies at the University of the Western Cape, or PLAS, which is the organisation that is setting up the policy for the expropriation of land without compensation. and who is funded by, guess who? The Open Societies Foundation, also known as George Soros. The NIDS CRAM results were terrifying, she said at the launch of the report. This is of infamous Ruth Hall. Our economy cannot sustain life. It cannot ensure that people have access to food. There had been also a massive increase in food prices during the COVID lockdown, she said. Now, once her policies are put in place and the white commercial farmers are kicked off their land and you've got African farmers running the farms like subsistence farms, guess what's going to happen to food security in South Africa? Well, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work that one out. An Oxfam report released on the 9th of July also referred to rising prices, noting the prices of food and other essentials had exploded because of stockpiling and price gouging by supermarkets and other suppliers. Even before the pandemic hit, 13.7 million people living in South Africa did not have access to enough food because of high unemployment and poverty, Oxfam said, and hunger was rising. Weekly polling conducted since the start of the lockdown revealed that unemployment and loss of income were having a direct impact on food security. Oxfam added, 1 in 3 adults surveyed said they were going to bed hungry, and a fifth had lost weight during the lockdown because of a lack of food. Other studies have also found significant increases in hunger since the start of the lockdown. In a report released on the 20th of May, Statistics South Africa found that since the start of the lockdown, the proportion of the 2,688 respondents who reported hunger had increased from 4.3% to 7%. In an earlier study by the Human Sciences Research Council and the University of Johannesburg on the 20th of April, based on 5,481 completed questionnaires, about 28% of participants reported going to bed hungry since lockdown. The NIDS CRAM researchers reported that an already unequal national situation has been made much worse as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the local and international responses to it. But have you noticed when Hippo Eyes appears in front of the media that his waistline seems to be getting larger and larger and larger? Obviously, he's spending a lot of time inside the fridge. Well, I'm at a loss for words, because this is, like Zimbabwe, going to be a huge crisis in months to come. This lockdown is going to absolutely change Southern Africa forever. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.